First up, Sunita Williams smiles, waves as she returns home after 286 days in space, almost 278 days longer than anticipated when they launched their SpaceX capsule. Parachuted into the Gulf of Mexico within an hour, the astronauts were out of their capsule, waving and smiling at the cameras while being hustled away in stretchers for medical checks. The two expected to be gone just a week or so after launching on Boeing's new Starliner crew capsule on June 5, but many problems cropped up on the way to the space station that NASA eventually sent Starliner back empty and transferred the test pilots to SpaceX, pushing their homecoming into February. The SpaceX capsule issues added another month's delay, but the astronauts are now safe and sound. In fact, NDTV spoke to Sunita's sister-in-law, Falguni Pandya, who said she cannot wait to reunite with Sunita and that her journey and resilience through her mission was nothing less than inspirational. Let's listen in.
It was full of anticipation. First of all, I want to thank all of you for following Sunny's journey and giving her love, blessings. All the viewers, thank you for keeping her in your mind and your hearts and your prayers. I think prayers work, and we are very happy all the 4 astronauts are back on Earth, safe with us. That moment was surreal. I think that's the only explanation I can give. And also there is, I personally felt a sense of gratitude to Bhagwan Ji, the universe, that everything went well. I am right now at the temple. I did not want to miss coming to the temple. It's night here, so before temple close, I came here. I am with the priest here as well. She will be reuniting with her husband, her mother, her sister. I think gradually she will be exposed to more people. There is a semi-quarantine situation, so slowly and slowly she will be exposed to the rest of the world. I am sure at the right time we will all celebrate together. We are also planning on going on vacations together. There will be a lot of family time coming up. And she's going to be the glue that's going to bring the family together also. Just give us a reason, all of us to be at the same place at the same time. We don't have exact dates, but she's definitely going to come to India soon. I hope this year. Prime Minister has very much asked her to come, and she feels India is, India is her father's ancestral land, and she's very connected to India. She feels the love from India and Indians, and I know she will come back. It's just a matter of timing and schedule and logistics.
And post-astronauts' return, NASA lauded the mission and spoke about the future of astronauts and their health. Let's take a look.
Butch and Sunny spent 286 days in space, and they got to see 8 different visiting vehicles coming and going from the ISS. We stay really busy as we talk about all these vehicles coming and going from the station. Nick and Butch each conducted 1 spacewalk, and Sunny conducted 2. That actually gave Sunny the record for most time on spacewalks by a woman, and puts her 4th overall in terms of time outside doing spacewalks.
When they were operating in space and doing operations inside the various modules, their muscles weren't working as hard, their heart wasn't working as hard, and so there's a muscular and cardiovascular kind of reconditioning that has to happen, and so that's what's happening now. And then, there's a little bit of response coming back to 1G. In space, I could let this pin, release this pin, and it's going to stay right where it is. And in 1G, if I release the pin, it falls. And so there's a little bit of that the crew has to get back and learn the skills back here on Earth again. So.
And Sunita's cousin Dinesh Raval also spoke about Sunita Williams' safe mission, celebrating her return and wishing her good health.
हम ये चाहते हैं कि सुनीता जल्द से जल्द अच्छी हो जाए और जल्द से जल्द वो भारत की यात्रा करे। भारत के वड़ा प्रधान भी चाहते हैं, मेरे ख्याल से वो भी हमारे कुटुंब पर बहुत प्रेम रखते हैं, तो हम उनके भी आभारी हैं कि आज हम भी उनके आभारी हैं। उनका इतना प्यार हमारा एक कुटुंब पर मिला है, वो बड़ी बात है। उन्हें चिट्ठी भी लिखकर सुनीता जी को बड़ा आश्वासन और टेका दिया है।
And on asked whether or not he had offered to send the spacecraft to Joe Biden and Kamala, Elon Musk said he did offer to return the astronauts earlier. They were only supposed to be there for 8 days, but SpaceX could have brought them back after a few months at most, but it was refused by Joe Biden for political reasons. Listen in.
I'm only going to ask you one political question, just for clarification purposes only. I don't think this should really be a political night. I think this is,
right,
a moment where the country should celebrate the fact that you were able to rescue them, that it happened successfully in spite of the difficulty, the challenges, and the danger. But I just want to clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered to send this rocket to space to rescue these astronauts sooner to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I heard somebody earlier today say, in fact, that didn't happen when I believe it did.
No, we definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most, and we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
In fact, our colleague Pallav Bagla had earlier spoken to Sunita Williams in an exclusive interview in 2016. Let's take a look.
Why do you eat samosas on the International Space Station?
I think my answer to a lot of things is why not? If you have the opportunity, take it. And I love samosas, and so I had asked for some special things that reminded me of home, and so one of those things was samosas.
Sunita also carried a copy of the Bhagavad Gita into space and now wants more Indian stuff in her space bunker. Any artifacts from India you are likely to carry up? Have you thought of something?
Something for my niece and nephew, who are both Indian. I'll probably bring something for them, some Indian toys, as well as probably another Ganesh, because Ganesh is my good luck charm.
And when you carry Ganesh, do you pray to him when you're in space? Are you religious about Ganesh?
I'm more of just a spiritual person. I just know he's there with me, guiding.
Sunita Williams has clocked more than 50 hours doing spacewalks. In a stay in space, she says she missed her pet dog more than her husband. If you had a choice, who would you take along on that mission, your dog or your husband?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting choice. My dog would age quicker, so I'm not sure that would be a good idea, but I might get into an argument with my husband, so I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about that.
But you miss your dog more on your space flights than your husband, is that right?
Well, yes and no. And I guess I like to argue, so I suppose I enjoy making that phone call to my husband, and so I can talk to him from space, from the International Space Station, and the dog you just can't actually talk to.
All right, to know more on this mission, the challenges and what next for the astronauts, we're joined by space expert Sanjay Lakshminarayanan, a research and development engineer for reusable rocket and human space flights. We also have Apurva Jakadi, space educator and advisor to Yashwantrao Chavan Planetarium, and Pallav Bagla, our science editor. Pallav sir, to you first, as I was pointing out, what really stood out for you, what really stood out about the mission? Because you've been following this mission for the last 9 months. What was supposed to last a week or so lasted 9 months. Of course, NASA had been in touch with them. They had been in touch with their family members consistently. But what really stood out, and what does this mission really reveal about commercial challenges as far as commercial space flights are concerned?
Sure. It showed to me that this is a continuing mission of human presence on the International Space Station. We've had continuous presence for the last 25 years, and this was one more step in that. The only difficulty was that the astronauts Butch, Wilmore and Sunita Williams went up on a Boeing Starliner, which had issues, and then they came back on a SpaceX Crew Dragon. So it also shows that you can't have reliability on a single company. You need to have reliability of 2 spacecrafts, 2 companies, have redundancy, and that is why NASA is going to continue making the Boeing Starliner space worthy. So it shows that this remains rocket science, but this also shows that the human spirit is very strong, and astronaut Sunita Williams showed that resilience for an 8-day mission to convert to over 9 months. She went in dancing into the International Space Station. She came back smiling and waving. I'm sure she's already missing her second home, which is space. But joining back with her family and especially her dog would be a wonderful thing for her. And I'm sure she will have her samosas very soon.
Right, so she's already missing space is what you're saying. Apurva, do you agree with that? I mean, besides that, what are the rehabilitation processes that astronauts have to undergo to readjust to the gravity here? We've been speaking about how it will take time for them to cope. Psychological well-being is also crucial. So what support systems are in place, will be in place, or already in place to help them cope with, the isolation that they went through for 9 months?
Yes, I totally agree. Just now what Mr. Palla also mentioned, it is international cooperation, and definitely it's going to help in future missions as well. And coming to the question, yes, there are some quick medical tests which will be undergone, and then definitely there are quarantine rooms, semi-quarantine. Then after that, Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore will be able to meet their family and close relatives. And in this process, what is going to happen is definitely their microgravity environment, which has affected them for last 9 months or so, has some reversible and irreversible changes in the human body and psychology. So that has to be, taken care of. That's the reason this time frame that is given to adjust and adapt to the present gravitational conditions on the planet Earth. So that will happen gradually, obviously. And more importantly, there are other factors, like in case there is any microbial or viral infection or any sort of contagious epidemic or what to avoid that. Definitely these things are taken care of. That's the reason these astronauts are put in quarantine rooms to just check in case there is any possibility. And obviously then they will go through the regular health checkup, and then they will be returning to NASA's Johnson Space Center that is in Houston.
All right, let me also put this question to Sanjay. Sanjay, how will this, from an engineering tech perspective, how will the issue with Starliner perhaps impact Boeing's role in future NASA missions? Do you think, NASA will make any sort of changes to its training process based on this mission? What does this really tell about the challenges of commercial space travel?
So the first thing is, whatever this particular scenario tells you is that the training that NASA has, the preparedness on board the International Space Station is excellent. Because 8-day mission or 7-day mission now is 9 months, and she was fine. She came back hale and healthy. She appears to be in positive spirit. So that's the most important thing. So the existing program is very good. And Boeing, when it comes to the Starliner, it's the first time that they flew it. So yeah, you're being too harsh for what we do. And therefore, so the problem with walls and everything is very common. It's not new. It happens for launch vehicles as well, not only for capsules. And it operates at the very edge of the limits of the materials and the design capabilities that we have based on the resources that's available on Earth. Therefore, it's very, very common that something doesn't work out of a million parts that has to work every time.
Right. Also, Apurva, can you share insights into how, astronauts really prepare mentally and emotionally for the possibility of extended missions? Because extended missions have happened, perhaps not for this long, beyond their original timelines. So how are they trained to prepare for something like this?
Yes, first of all, the astronauts undergo flight simulation, the sort of training, like how the pilots and co-pilots are trained. And obviously, Sunita Williams is of U.S. Navy, a Navy pilot, so she was already trained as a ace pilot. And apart from that, obviously, there are a lot of other aspects, like I earlier said, working in microgravity environment where there is frictionless or weightlessness, which they have to experience on the International Space Station. And they kind of float inside the station. So they have to be, well acquainted with swimming, that is underwater aviation challenges, then the space shots, then the multi-axis training units, etc. So that they are capable of, withstanding this, maybe even the extended time period, like such as this. In fact, there was earlier 1 year space study that was for Moon, Mars, and beyond. So NASA also wanted to train astronauts so that they are capable of long duration space flights, etc. But obviously this one, hats off to Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore, because the kind of endurance, the kind of, the tests that they have gone through, the fitness and all that, that is truly commendable. And as I earlier said, they have to constantly do exercise, that is on the treadmills. Then they have to, Sunita Williams has already done triathlon or, on the treadmills. She's constantly doing exercise there because of the, muscle atrophy or the bone elongation and the blood circulation, which gets affected inside the station.
Right. Thank you for that, Apurva. I'd also like to go back to Pallav Bagla. Pallav sir, as you've been pointing out, there was a lot of public debate around this mission, a lot of criticism as far as the previous dispensation in the US is concerned. But, what strategies are employed to maintain public trust and interest in space exploration amid, these kind of technical setbacks and extended missions?
Communication and transparency is the key. The first communication error which the American Space Agency, NASA, made was to announce that it would be an 8-day mission. When SpaceX Crew Dragon flew for its first maiden flight, it was a several-week mission and it got extensions. Mr. Elon Musk does not want to talk about that. But this time, there was a communication error by NASA, but subsequently, they've been very transparent to explain what is happening, and finally the decisions, as we have been told by officials of NASA in many public disclosures, they were all professional decisions taken in the interest of space science, space technology, the International Space Station, and having 4 extra hands or 2 extra astronauts who could be working at the International Space Station, who were experienced astronauts in astronaut Butch Wilmore and astronaut Sunita Williams. They prepared for this long duration mission. From 8 days it extended, and they did a good job of it. The politics which has been played out between the Republicans and the Democrats is for everyone to see. I'm not the person to comment on politics, but that is sheer politics which has been played out between President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. And we see that the world over. I'm not surprised by it, but bringing space technology into it was not a very good thing for many professionals.
Right. Thank you, Pallav Bagla, for giving us insights into the politics behind it and the kind of transparency that is required to enhance public perception as well. And thank you to Sanjay Lakshminarayan and Apurva Jakadi for giving us insights into achievements and astronauts' future as well as implications for future space exploration endeavors as well.